January 7th, and I've been pondering a lot lately in the last couple days. But this piece of gold that I've discovered is, it's just crazy. The word conspiracy means to conspire against, to have a evil or hatred or wicked plan against a form of people or a organization. So this word has such a politically incorrect connotation to it that you can't even say the word conspire without all the negative views about it. But if you get the word at its roots and what it really means, you'll have to ask yourself, apart from how the media and those in government or those above and politics have portrayed this word to people who use it, what could it really mean? And the discovery that I found is that with a lot of background research, too much to get into every branch, but basically the world that we have been grown up into is a planned, programmed world. I mean, even that in itself, it doesn't even make sense. Rationally, rationally you probably could understand it, but to your own intuitive nature, you think, well, I know. Everything has been so intelligently designed in its slightness to be good, but even those good things in the end have an intelligence to be bad. Meaning is that what we consider good, like technologies, even like smartphones and Google and Bluetooth and chips, and those technologies are in there to prepare a way for the acceptance of, I would say, the mark of the beast, and other people would say transhumanism, which is I believe the plan. That if you were to ask who's in control of all this, I believe the Bible talks about this, and that it's not a complicated way. It's like that there's evil and there's good, and this evil is basically Satan and all of his, you could say, demons and his minions. And so we know already that these guys, they want to procreate with human beings. They want to hybrid with humans so that they can have their DNA, their blood, so that they can take on the nature of a human being and it sounds crazy, but basically have influence in the world this way. Corruption has gotten so bad. And then it said in the days of Noah, it will be like the days of Noah. And we know that what I just spoke of is true because in Genesis, with 6, it talks about the Nephilim, the giants, the heroes. These are they said the sons of God. It's the demons who have come to procreate with the women. And it says in the latter days, which we're getting there because even the world and technology itself shows that we have enough nukes to blow up this world like a million times. So we're coming to that place with the hatred and the progression. And it says in those days, it'll be like the days of Noah. And so if that's true, then where are these giants? Where are they? And they're there. But you got to realize that darkness, what is darkness? What is the nature? What is the substance of darkness? It always tries to hide itself. It's secretive, and it tries to keep its slaves asleep so that they don't know that they're enslaved people. So the devil has always wanted to be a god, and that's been ever since the beginning. Has fallen to the earth, and he tried to create an empire just like God's, with people to follow him, to have eternal life, to be a god, to be king. He was one of the most beautiful angels. He fell from heaven, Ezekiel, was it 28, 29? So he's replicating exactly what's in heaven that God has, and he's promising human beings on this earth, say if they give themselves over to the devil, allegiance, like how a person would give themselves over to Christ and they have a seal of Christ on the forehead, and then they persevere to the end. Well, it's the same thing with the devil. He's just mimicking what God is. He says, make an allegiance to him. And when they do, he promises certain life and power. And I believe he even says to these people that they'll become like God, like him, and even have eternal life. And therefore, but it's more corrupt that everyone that doesn't have this way is, you could say, an infidel. But it'd be like the Aryan race and the Nazis. They thought they were the perfect ones and the Jews were inferior. So it's like all human beings now, from the devil's perspective, are nothing but trash and animals and deserve to be depopulated and die. So that's their plan. So then you ask, who's in charge of all this? Human-wise. Human-wise, we have names like Henry Kissinger, Rothschilds, Obama's a puppet, and George Soros. But there's probably other people behind the scenes. But really, it's the pyramid. And the pyramid is just another replica of the Trinity. And the pyramid has got that evil eye on at the top, which is Lucifer, the devil. And that's who he wants to be God. And so even those who are humans, who I would suggest is probably most fully possessed by a demon, 90% of them, 10% human, that are in control of the governments and money situations. This is the love of all money is the root of all evil. These people love money, and it's all evil happening here. They're just puppets towards the devil himself. The devil basically wants to have a kingdom, and he wants all human beings and demons to be slaves under him, enslaved. And I would even suggest that it would just be the humans. And the human, it's because they're made in the image of God. They have a piece of God's nature. They don't know their significance. They don't know that they're a piece of God's heart. There's been the Father God who's poured out his heart. He pulled a chunk out of his heart and made a human being. And the devil knows the significance of human beings. And that's why he's coming after them, which is God's most prized possession first. And it says the angels look upon humans and are in awe. And he knows it's one of the greatest ways he can get to God's heart is really go after the humans race. So that's basically what he's trying to do. And he's probably promising these humans, for the most part, things like I just said, I'm going to give you eternal life and all that. But in the end, I wouldn't be surprised if it's all going to turn on them and they're going to be slaves. So even if we're trying to find out who is in charge of this invisible hand, this invisible octopus tangled in every bit of our life all day long, who's in charge of it all? It's at the end, it's just what the Bible talks about, and how the devil's going to try to raise up tribulation in the end, a massive war against God and God's people. Now, there's an amazing discovery that I found through all this, is that there's going to be a revival in the end times. We are living there. A personal testimony is I used to persecute people within the last 2-3 years who even claimed to be had an urgency because Christ was coming back. I used to look down upon them and think that the history's always been the same. There's always been problems, so why is there anything different today? I can't even remember the day when it switched around for me, but it literally went full-blown switch, and I think it's when I cried out to God and said, give me reality, give me truth. I want you, and I want to let go everything behind it. Everything inside me switch. Why? Christ lives in me, and so he wants his mind and his heart and his ways in me, and that's what's on his mind right now. So he did it with me, who just simply I would say open your mind to greater possibilities other than your religious system that you're used to being programmed under. And that's what happened with me personally. Now, discovery that I'm talking about has to do with the principle of this revival. I sense there's a lot more to it. Obviously, I don't know because I'm not God. But the impression that I get is when darkness increases, the light has to at the exact same time. We knew that. But when you look at reality, break it down to its fibers and its micro level, it's a powerful revelation. that we're living right now in that time. I mean, 2 years ago, people would have said everything that I'm talking about, and like all these other guys that are trying to expose all the things going on behind the scenes with politics and all that crazy conspiracy theories. Now, a lot of people still will do it because it's not normal, and the reason why it's not normal is because the things we're talking about are crazy, and if it's true, then actually what we're saying is that the things that these elite people are doing are crazy, and people don't choose to believe that there is such a thing against them, and that life in society is meant to be for them and comfortable. And I'm suggesting that it's not, and that we were born into a world that is not at all what we pictured. And so with that said, when I open my mind up to the possibility that there's something else going on here, God just continued to download this stuff into me. And it's been leading me to people that speak on these matters, and it just builds major revelation to me. Now, we're living in that time where there is an acceptance of what I'm talking about. It's like growing, and it's growing through even leaders. It's going through like Donald Trump. It's going through Ron Paul. It's going through, I was saying Alex Jones and all these guys, Joel Scowen and all these guys. But there's tons of them, and it's just growing. People who would have thought they're changing, even people who are against it are changing. And I believe that's part of the revival. And I believe it's very much connected to Ezekiel, where it's in Ezekiel, I don't remember the exact chapter, 33 or whatever, it talks about the valley of dry bones. I believe for a long time it's been a valley of dry bones. And the devil has kept it that way, programmed us to be asleep. Dry bones just means sleep. And so we're going to wake up. And when you wake up, that's what my point is. When you wake up is when the darkness increases. There's something that switches on in the heart of a human being that's righteous and says, I don't know if that is true. And then they begin to question and answer. And I believe this is connected to people who specifically how this all started of ADD and autism, who you'd say are the fishermen and the disciples in the Bible, who are the nobodies. But God looks for them. They're the ones that are different from society. Society has allowed people to be sheep and to be conformed under an education that is keeping them asleep to the program, or asleep to light, to reality and faith and truth and hope. But it's keeping them asleep to that and alive, not even alive, but asleep under the system of this hand that is trying to control them. Now, right now, we're living in a time where it's waking up. And I believe even people who are waking up, they haven't quite got the end realization that this is all about Christ. It's all about the battle between Christ and how he's going to come and he's going to deliver the people, because there's no other hope. He's the Savior and Lord, and Father God has sent him, and Jesus Christ is a reflection of the Father's heart, how he loves his people to be able to save them and redeem them. So, my point being said here is that it's happening right now. And the prophets, it's true, they looked upon this time and thought, what amazement, what excitement, what awe is going on. And we are living in the most interesting time. People are going to die, for sure. There's going to be bloodshed. But to watch a group, it's like holes in a pot, and all the water comes out, and the darkness is trying to patch all the holes because it keeps coming out, or the light keeps shining through, and they can't patch everything. It's just going to keep growing. Every time you persecute a Christian, the faith grows. Say if you kill a prominent leader Christian, you're going to have 6 more that are going to come in and speak in his behalf and say, he is a man of righteousness, and what have you done? And you kill those 6, and then there's going to be 12 more. It's just going to grow. You cannot stop the light. You cannot stop the light. So when the darkness prevails, and it's basically what's happening is it's exposing itself. But for a long time, the darkness had taken on the nature of darkness. It had to be secretive and keep people asleep. There has to be a point in history where it comes out and reveals itself. I mean, that would be the son of perdition, the Antichrist. But I mean, it's coming out right now. It's coming out on all the countries in the world. I mean, there's a sort of a martial law, which is a police state against its people, almost in Europe and in America, and they say in Australia, and I mean a lot of the tyranny countries. I mean, it's just these guys control it. So now, as it's all being, everyone's questioning now, and that what I've discovered is that you could say a guy who had an encounter with artificial intelligence, he said that he discovered from this experience, which people can take it or leave it, that they only have power over you is when you have control of your mind and your thoughts. When you lose the control of your thoughts, like the Bible says, take each thought captive. You have to do it for a reason. When you lose the control of your own thoughts, they can come in and manipulate and control and almost bring you to a robotic state in how you want to be. What is their plan? Well, they want you to bend over and die and by accept your death and to be a slave. And so that they can sweep off the species of this earth, and they can do what they think they're going to do, is have a new species, and they think they're all gods and that they're going to run this planet. And they actually, the next step they were saying is like that transhumanism, which is only putting a chip in your body and accepting it. They want people to be, they're already kind of robotic because they're gone with the program, although people are waking up, which is exciting. But now that people are waking up, they got to quickly do it. And so I believe it's going to be soon, because they don't want everyone to wake up before they get to do their plan. They say that they're about 15 years behind this elite. Now, the thing is, they're going to try to get at people. They're warming up people with chips. They got chips in people's hands. They got chips in people's cards. As soon as they put a chip in your hand, they can turn it off and on. They control your money. They control it. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be, like a demonic DNA, but you do it. You take the mark of the beast. The Bible says you're going to be destructive for damnation. Because the point is you're going to take on the nature of like the demon, like these Henry Kissingers and these Rothschilds. They're just going to have control of you. Christians will deny it. They have to deny it. And if they don't, they're in deep trouble. But we're going to live in exciting times where it's going to be obvious. We're going to be able to know good and evil. And the suns are going to raise up like crazy in this time. And at the same time, the darkness is going to keep sweeping in and probably killing a lot of people. But who cares? If you die, you go to home, you go to heaven, and you get to watch and cheer on the rest of the warriors that are going to be looked on for eternity as champions in this earth, the sons of God who are fighting the spiritual battle, and they're climbing this mountain, and at the end they're not going to necessarily prevail themselves. Jesus is going to come and then do the last final stage and step here. So the point is, take each thought captive, and their plan is to basically destroy and take over, and they want people to be like sheep, like robotic sheep. And I don't know if that's to like lead them into the chambers like the Nazis did with the smoke chambers, and they just do it and you're dead, or is it to enslave them to do whatever they want? Because I had this interesting thought about why now, why in history, because why didn't they do it back then? This thing has been developing for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, and I still have to do a little bit more study on this, but I believe that it has something to do with all the wealth. This is the root of all evil, is the love of money. And so money is at the core of all this. Money is like a god for these people, and they pursue it. And all of these all the resources in the world, finally people have been populating the whole world. They've discovered where all the gold is, and they've been able to collect it. And now that they have it, because up until then, wouldn't you have to have people to work to cut the gold out of a cave and to put it into a chamber? And so you're doing it for the people, the elite. But now that most of that has been done, and they can identify where all the wealth is, the slaves, and we've enjoyed our civil rights and our freedom for a time period because God allowed it under America. Now they're seeing, okay, enough is enough. We've got what we wanted. We have enough riches and gold and power, and we have enough to run this world. We cut the freedom of speech and the Second Amendment, the right to defend themselves with guns, and now we start to take them over and enslave them, because now they don't have to work for us anymore. We've done enough, and now we will make them, like, put chips in them, make them do what we want to do, basically. And they're already under, they say, mind control, under the video games, media, movies. That's all part of it, the mind control here. And so once they have you asleep, they want to keep you asleep. You start waking up, you're a threat. That's the only thing that's a huge problem to them right now, is that you wake up and you're a threat to their plans. And it's just a principle. You think, well, should you fight? No, it's not a fight physically. It's a battle, a spiritual battle, not of flesh and blood. So the point here is, some principle happens is when people start waking up, it pushes back the darkness. But it doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily bypass a tribulation. No. I mean, that's already prophesied in the Bible that will happen. We'll have to go through that. But that's the spread of Christianity as it always was. Persecution was the spread of Christianity in the early days. That's how you knew you were a Christian, if you were persecuted, put in the gladiator pits or hung on, a tree or whatever. So the point here is, what I thought about autism stuff, they've made those people deemed in school as stupid, when really those people are the foundational, I believe, part of leaders, partially, not all of them, but it's because they are free thinkers. They're willing to focus on a subject and not let go. They're like, why is this the way this is? What is the problem here? May I figure this out? What is the answer? And that's enough for them to break free from the sleep the program has kept them in. And now that they're becoming awakened, they'll be able to share and wake other people up, and other people will be able to become awakened. And this is a fight that the Lord is doing. Lord, would you continue to reveal to us what is going on here, and we may hear more from you in Jesus' name.